Hello everyone. In this video, I will cover about the retargeting process in the Blender. I will cover about how to retargeting the animation to your own character and also talk about how to solve the extra ball and joints animation that you have. For example, like the cape and the skirt and the bags in this character. If you found this tutorial is helpful, please subscribe and give me a like. That helps me a lot. As you can see, we have two characters here. One is the Mixamo character, another one is Marcy, which is the one of the latest Dota 2 character, and it's also open source, so you can download freely from the Dota workshop. So as you can see, in this character, there's a lot of bones and joints. So it's much more complicated due to recently they can do much more in that game. So what we want to do is we need to use the Mixamo animation and retarget it to my own character. In today's tutorial, I will use the Blender add-on called Auto Rig Pro, which is very familiar, I think, for most of the Blender user. It's very common in a lot of people's process. So as you may know, the Auto Rig Pro is oftenly solve the problem about from start to rig a character. But in this tutorial, I'll cover the main module about remap. So down to this remap section, you have two slots. One is your source bone, one is your retargeting bones, which you can select your Mixamo as a source and use your own character, which is Marcy here, as a target. So after we select the armature that we need to, we can head to the retargeting process. So in here, I turn on the bones in front and show the name, which makes the whole process more easier. And after that, I use the resize button, which is the button before we did the retargeting process. It mainly for make the source, the size of the source, much more like the target size. So which makes every calculation much more precise, much more reasonable. So in here we have build bone list. In this list, we need to manually select our source bone and our target bone. So in a lot of cases, your bone, it doesn't one-to-one matches. For example, you have maybe four spline bone in the resource, and the target you have maybe 6. So you have to manually define which bone's animation transfer to another one. So in here, like I demonstrated, you have manually select the bone to match each other. For example, the Mixamo rig head to head, and hips, pelvis, etc., etc. So this is kind of tedious process, so which I will accelerate a little bit later. And one thing I must notice you guys is, if you need to do this, you have to set the root bone, which basically is the center location in the retargeting process. So for example, in here, if you select the hips, which is the pelvis in the target, you have to set as root, click the set as root button downside. The rest will be just like one-to-one match. So your forearm to forearm, your upper arm to upper arm. Here you can see we have a lot of arms to control the secondary animation in this Marcy character, which most of them we do not use. We do not need to use it. So I just mainly select the main bone, which is just arm, leg, foot, those type of things, and just match it one by one. So here I accelerate it. It's just like the full tedious process you have to do by yourself. manually. Okay, just quickly find the bone name and just select whatever you need to select. Yeah, we have to the head, we have to the leg, we have the foot. And on the other side, we don't have like smart symmetry things, so we still have to manually select every right side bones from the target. So make sure everything is selected correctly. Later in this video, I will make the small mistake, which is like I mismatched the hand bone on the right side, but I fixed it in the final render, so which wouldn't be included in this tutorial. Okay, for now, we just turn off the in front and turn off the name, which helps us to visualize it. And here, if you click the gear icon on the right side, there is a bind only, which in this process, in the bind only mode, it essentially does the copy rotation, simply does the copy rotation constraint to each bone you set in the bone list. So you can say it shows the animation result, but it does not actually transfer the animation data. And also you will notice that due to the pose, the default pose is different. Like the mixamo pose is T pose and our character pose is A pose. So there is a mismatch on the both arm. So we have used another small function in this AutoRig Pro 2 to fix that issue. So downside it, we have a rest pose reset. So in this mode, we can simplify fix that issue. So in here, you just like click that button and go to the pose mode. You can into this like default pose fix mode. All you need to do is just rotate your upper arm, your resource armature upper arm, and click fix the pose rotation and click it done. And that's it. And after that, if you click the bind only again, you will notice that the animation has been fixed for the both arm. Here, this is the correct result. I didn't notice that the right hand is a little bit mismatched because I didn't set up the bone list correctly, so that's caused the issue. I fixed that in the final render, that's it. So here we have already see the result, which means like if we retargeting the animation data, it will appear correctly. So let's just do that. We back to the frame 0 and open the armature and select the armature and just click the unbind only so we can do just retarget. So we just hit this button, retarget. It will automatically transfer all the animation data to our targeted bones. So here we can visualize the result. So that is the major step of the retargeting process, okay? But as you may say, many of your character may have extra things. For example, in this character, it has bags, capes, and a little bit like hair tail behind the head, and also extra like small bags or something like that. So therefore, we need to use another add-on to fix that issue, which is the Bone Dynamics Pro. Bone Dynamics Pro essentially is just do a very little simulation to your selected bones and based on your other bones animation. So in here, I set the first pass wrongly. So I just like edit the video again and show you the correct process. So all you need to do is just, for example, in this cape, select all the cape bones. And just click Add Bone Dynamics. So in the post mode, you will see all these bones became to the green, which means it has its own constraints. So let's do this process to all the 3 cape bones. So the first time you add this bone dynamics, all the bone will show in the list behind it. You will see this kind of simulation is very flickery. It's very exaggerated. So therefore, you need to manually like just test a different setting to make sure the result is what you want. So in here, if you open the menu, you have like elasticity, you have friction, you have damping, you have strains, stiffness. That's all you need to tick. So you can manually like just mess up with those numbers and see the different result. But for this character, what I need is simply just like slow follow the movement of from the main body, you know. So I didn't end up mess with those parameters. The main thing I tweak is this influence value. So you can see even I like take several parameters, it still doesn't give me like the satisfying result. Especially the end of this tile bone. It's just like flickering and just wiggling so much. So what I did, just select all the bones that I need to tweak and just try another things. Like mainly I tweak the influence. Here I tried another value, but like mainly I just tweak the influence like 0.25 or something, 0.3425 or something, like smaller value. So as you can see, like this is kind of the result that I need. I don't need to be perfect because this tool is not used for the perfect animate solution. But it just like fix all the movement, slow follow the twist of the main body and the movement. So that's make your animation looks more vivid and just like more reasonable. So for the rest, I double check the bones of the backpack. I think the backpack has a special reason, so the character can grab the backpack and throw it away. So, which means the root of this bone joint is not on the body. So it doesn't follow the logic to create the bone dynamics. So I just pass it. Here we can see we have like small bags on the left side. And we have like several skirt bones that all can be dynamics. So I just add those bone to the bone dynamics. Like for example, we have like 6 or 5 tiles of skirts. But we noticed like this bone dynamics, although it default have some like proxy or physics detection things, but usually that's such complicated like character rig doesn't have a perfect solution for that. So laterly I will just tweak the influence value very, very small. So you can see like here, if you add the dynamics, the skirt is completely penetrate into the downside mesh, which is it's a kind of like a bug in terms of the mesh itself. So in here, I just use a simple trick. I just tweak the influence value very small. So you can see it's just have some movements, but it does not penetrate into the mesh in the downside. And I add a little bit of mass, add a little bit of damping, make me more like weighted, so it may be slower, maybe not move that fast. Another thing is like we have the hair tile bones. So all this need to be like add a dynamics. So we just do that process again and still add the influence like very small value like 0.24. So we can see the result. You see the hair bones, the animation itself is we get too much, but like generally you can see the movement is acceptable. So we're gonna use another trick to fix this kind of jiggle movement later. Okay, here you can say the bone dynamics gave me some decent result for this character capes and skirts. That's all I need. So we need to bake this animation data down to the bone itself. So at the end, it doesn't come with the constraint, doesn't with the dynamic setting. It's just in the animation data itself. So all we need to do is just click the bake animation button. So here we just check the animation set properly again in the solid shade mode and bake the animation. So for the hair bone itself, we use a trick. So we just select all the keyframe and decimate the keyframe, which essentially is just some similar process for just like you decimate a mesh. So if your curve is too smooth or too flat, generally those keyframes will be deleted from the animation graphic. So you will have like more smoother, less wiggle effect for your hair tail. So that's it. So this is the final result.